One more reminder of growth and decay. If something is going to be increasing by 4%, that means we would start at 100% and gain 4%. So now we have 104%. And to write that as a decimal multiplier, we just divide by 100. And so our answer would be, our multiplier is 1.04. So if I was building an equation, I'd multiply by 1.04. If something's going to decrease by 4%, I start at 100 and subtract 4, which would give me 96%. And then we divide by 100 to get our decimal multiplier. In this case, it would be 0.96. You need to try the next two. We're going to look at our first decay story problem. Imagine you have a cup full of 100 pennies. That means at trial number 0, you have 100 pennies. Now you're going to dump the pennies onto your workspace, remove all the pennies that have the tails side up, and record the number of pennies that are remaining, aka the number that are heads. So I'm going to dump out these pennies, pull out the ones that have heads, and count how many heads there still are. Turns out there are 50 pennies remaining that are still heads up. Then we gather all those 50 pennies, put them back in my cup. I'm going to shake them and dump them out. And I'm going to count how many have heads again. This time, 24 of them are still on heads. So I'll gather those 24 coins, put them back in my cup, shake them and dump them out. This time, there are 12 that are heads up. I'll gather those 12, shake them up, dump them out. This time there are 6 heads up. Do the same thing, gather my pennies, dump them out. This time only 2 are heads up. And then the next time, so my 6th toss, I end up with 0 heads remaining. And I have no pennies left. Is it possible that I could keep flipping and I might always keep getting a penny on heads? Yes, but unlikely. Would the results have been different if I removed the heads and counted the tails? No, because there's an equal chance of getting heads or tails. If we had started with 100 pennies, how would that have affected my results? In my table, instead of starting with 100, I would have started with 200. I'm going to plot my data on the graph quick, and then we'll answer the questions. So you can see that it started at the y-intercept, 0 trials with 100 pennies, then drops to 50, 25, 12, and so on and so on. Is this situation increasing or decreasing? It is decreasing. It's going downward. What does this tell you about your multiplier? It tells me that my multiplier needs to be smaller than 1, a decimal, 0 point something. Using what you know about probability, what do you expect to be the multiplier? Well, when you're flipping coins, there's a 50-50 chance of getting heads or tails. That's 50%. So if we write 50% as a decimal or a multiplier, that's 0.5. Half of the coins should come up heads and half should come up tails. Write the exponential equation, so we just have y equals. We started with 100 pennies, and our multiplier is half, or 50% each time, so 50.5 to the x. What does your function give as an output for x equals 0? Well, if I go to my graph, I can see at x equals 0, there was 100 pennies. And if we look back at our table on the previous page, we also saw that at 0, it's 100 pennies. So that tells me that I started with 100 pennies. X is 0, meaning that we've done 0 trials so far. You can answer these last 2 questions on your own.